Hey guys, my name is Danielle and I'm glad you're here with me today. So by the title, you can obviously tell what this video is about. Why I decided to get pregnant at 19. Most of the times when you hear someone getting pregnant so young, it's usually like an accident or it's really not intentionally planned. But that was not the case for me. A backstory, my husband and I got married when we were 18. I was still in high school. Craziness continues. Turned 18 like 3 months prior, so we got married real soon. But the reasoning for that was he was going into the military at the time and we had already planned on at least staying together, so we're like, might as well get the benefits of it all. So we got married, and it's kind of one of those situations where it's like the girls who get it, the ones who don't obviously don't. It's normal, at least for the military life. The story starts technically in like February 2020, so he had been on deployment for like 9 months, but we were obviously separated for longer because I was still in high school while he was deployed and I couldn't obviously go to his duty station where he was, so we were separated in all for about like 10-11ish months. So he had just gotten back from deployment and this was right before the pandemic hit. So before the world closed down, we literally, spent every second of every day together. I remember we, went to Canada for Valentine's Day. We were going to a whole bunch of different cities, because we lived in New York at the time. So we were just enjoying each other's company since we hadn't been able to do that for months because we were doing long distance, and crazy enough, he's deployed right now. So at this point, our whole relationship is based on long distance. So it's literally nothing out of the ordinary for us. So at this point, the pandemic had hit, everything was closed down, we were stuck in the house with each other, and we came to a conclusion that we were like, we're financially ready, mentally ready, our relationship was okay at the time, but it wasn't bad. So we kind of like looked at the pros and cons, and for a while we went back and forth whether we wanted it to just be us since we've been long distance for so long, or if we were ready to add a baby to our family. And this decision, we went back and forth for like a few weeks because sometimes we were like, we want it to be just us, and then other days we're like, we're ready for a baby. But the general consensus was that, we were gonna just leave it up to God, leave it in his hands, and if we got pregnant, yay. If we didn't, still yay. So it could just be us. We could still enjoy each other's time while we still had it. And, we wouldn't have that extra responsibility on a relationship. Although we made this decision together, I wasn't having it because obviously this was like the beginning of the baby boom. Everybody and their mom was getting pregnant at this time. My sister had just had a baby. My brother, his girlfriend at the time, was pregnant as well. And I'm like, I want to be included. I want a baby. I had wanted a baby for so long at that point because I seen everybody else have a baby, but I just genuinely wanted one. I wasn't on any type of birth control. We weren't using any form of protection. So we were just like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But, we're not going to stress it. But that wasn't good enough for me. I'm like, I wanted a baby. I want one now. And I was going to try everything I could in order to get there. And it's like, he knew it, but he wasn't stressing about it too much. He's like, it is what it is. Getting pregnant definitely took longer than what I ever imagined it would because everybody in my family, they've conceived their children naturally. They didn't have to use any outside resources. We just kind of like, they did the do, and then a baby came out of it. I never really asked like how long it took, but most of the time, a lot of us were just like, hey, we're here, we're surprises. Although they wanted us, they weren't trying, if that makes sense. So I thought, the same thing will happen to me. We, just have unprotected sex and then a baby will come like right out of that. And that isn't what happened. So it caused me to think that I was, infertile, couldn't have any kids. I'm like, this is never gonna happen. I'm never gonna get pregnant because I took so many pregnancy tests and 90% of them came out negative. And modern fashion, I turned to Facebook groups. not only to see, you know, other suggestions on how to get pregnant, but to just see other women going through the same thing that I was going through, and if they were like, you know, the same timeline that I was on. I didn't even know that it took women like years to get pregnant. I was completely ignorant to that fact because I never knew anyone personally where it took them that long to get pregnant. Apple juice, you know, flipped upside down after we had sex. I was practically doing everything that these Facebook pages were saying just to see if something would work at this point, because I was losing it, literally losing all my hope about the fact that I wasn't able to get pregnant as fast as other people were. I can't say exactly what worked, or if what I did actually worked, or if I just, you know, thought it worked in my head. But even with doing all that stuff, June came and I was like tracking my period religiously, ovulation, like all that stuff. So I didn't even wait for my period to come. It was probably like a few days to like, no, I don't think it was like a week before, but it was like a few days before my period was supposed to come. Oh my gosh. I took one of those like little cheapy pregnancy tests because I had taken so many clear blue ones, but I'm like, I'm tired of wasting money at this point. These things are expensive. So I stacked up on like the Dollar Tree ones, bought some off of Amazon, literally like all of that. So I remember I took a pregnancy test the night before. It had 2 lines, didn't think anything of it because I've done it before and there was 2 lines that popped up. So I'm like, you know what? Okay, whatever. I don't believe it. So the next morning I got up. My husband wasn't there because he was at PT. Peed in my little cup to do the test strip, but then put it on the side of the toilet because I was still tired. But then an hour later, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try it. So I got up, tried the pregnancy test, and it came out positive. And after that, I probably took about 6 or 7 more because I didn't believe it at all. And then they all came out positive. So you can imagine my surprise at that point. If you want like a detailed story, I can go into like a whole nother video to do that, but you know, that's not really the topic about today. So yeah, I got pregnant, you know, had a pretty good pregnancy, no morning sickness, no health complications, none of that, and had a good delivery minus my 3 days of labor. Hated that. But now I have a 13, almost 14-month-old daughter, and I honestly wouldn't change it for the world at all, even given how young I am. You know, most people I see or who I went to high school with, they're out in college, out living their life, you know, just doing normal like 20-year-old stuff. And it's like some days I'm like, you know, I wish. But then other days I'm like, that life isn't for me. It was never for me. I was never like the partying type. I never really went out, hung out with friends. I was more of like a stay-at-home, like homebody. My husband was getting to the point in his life where that lifestyle was getting old to him, hence why we got married so young. Having a kid literally changed my life because before I got married, I had thought that I was gonna live in New York, go to NYU, become like this fashion designer. That was literally my dream my entire life, and having her changed that. And I won't say it's for the worse, but I'll just say that that life path obviously wasn't for me, and that God had a different plan for my life that I wasn't aware of at that time. And it's like sometimes I look back and be like, you know, that would be nice. I would still want to live there, but that life just isn't meant for me, and I'm okay with that. You know, I don't regret anything that I've done in my life. I don't regret having my daughter because she came at the perfect time. God gave her to us when it was the right time for her to come. So being a mom, especially so young, there's so many expectations and standards and, you know, stereotypes that are put on you. People don't really know your life story. They just, you know, judge you because you look so young and you have a kid. Like, people still think that I'm a teen at times, and I get like those weird stares in public, and I'm just like, you know, it is what it is. I don't really care. I don't let that get to me at all. You know, mom definitely has its set of challenges, but I've always seen myself having kids young, not specifically at 19, even though I gave birth to her at 20, but I never seen myself having kids that early. But I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing because by the time, you know, she's a teenager, she's like up there in age, I'm still gonna be young. I can still go out, do whatever I want, or wanted to wait to have kids. I always wanted them early, and because, like, you know, after they get grown, they get out the house, I'll still be young. I'll still be cute, you know. I won't be like 50, 60. I still wanted to be able to grow up and, like, you know, go outside, play with them, not have to worry about, you know, body issues or body pain, stuff like that. So I've always wanted kids young, but it definitely has its set of challenges, given that I'm still trying to figure my own self out while being a wife, while being a mom, and it really just kind of strips you of your identity. So that's something that I'm struggling with right now, but we're taking it day by day. Happy with my life. Just being a stay-at-home mom is hard. It's not something that I ever imagined for myself. Crazy enough, but here I am, stay-at-home mom, married with a baby, a dog. Life is definitely crazy, and it's like, I do wish I could change some stuff about it, but for the most part, I'm happy, you know. I can go into depth about, you know, like a whole bunch of other stuff, but we'll just, you know, put that into other videos at this point. So if you have any other suggestions that you would like to hear, or, you know, see me talk about, comment them down below. Don't forget to follow my socials that are in my description, and then I also have a blog that's about young motherhood and my journey as well, and that kind of correlates to this video and goes even more in depth about, you know, why I decided to get pregnant at 19. So if you would like to check that out, it'll be down there as well. Thank you all so much for joining me today, and I will see you in my next video.